Well, thank you, Christine, for that great introduction, and thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend this webinar as we do cover some new exciting features that we have in housekeeping. Before we actually move into those new features, I do want to do a quick review of how we currently can assign rooms in housekeeping, which is more of a manual process. Up until a couple months ago, before we rolled out our first phase of auto assign function, this was actually the only way that you could assign tasks in housekeeping. And I just want to do this so we can actually have something to compare it to when we get into our new way of being able to auto assign rooms. So I'm going to actually do this in my training environment. My property is actually called the James Hotel. So if I'm a housekeeping manager and I'm here to start assigning my rooms during the day, I can come here into my housekeeping section, and under task management is where I'm going to go. And it's going to give me right here a quick summary of my tasks that are currently due today. I can see that I actually have 36 rooms that are due for a stay over clean. I also see how long it's going to take for me to complete all these tasks. And it shows me, based on an 8-hour work shift, how many housekeepers I will need to complete these tasks. Once I have my summary, I could look at this. I could go into my manage worksheets here. And this will take me to where I can assign rooms. Now, up until the time that we had these auto assign features, it was a simple click and drag process. Click a room, drag it over to the housekeeper that you want to assign it to, and then you would actually then run your boards for this report. You can also move rooms in sequential order, like if you wanted to change the order in which they displayed on the report, you can do that here as well. And while this is a simple process, it's pretty easy to figure out. If you have a lot of rooms in your hotel and you're a big property, you have a lot of tasks, this can become a little bit tedious and a little time consuming, which is why we kind of looked at this and said, how can we make this better? And one of the things that we talked about and developed is this auto assign process. So I'm going to actually unassign the rooms that I did manually. And there are two ways that we can use auto assignments. I can do auto assignment by employees, and I can do auto assignment by sections, which is the phase 2 that we rolled out about a month ago. Doing it by employees, what it's essentially going to do is take all my tasks here on the left side, and it's going to divide them evenly amongst the housekeepers that I have displayed here. Now, if I know, for example, working today, I could uncheck 2 housekeepers, and that way it's only going to assign those rooms to these 3 housekeepers that are showing. Now, in my hotel, I don't actually have housekeeper names configured in my property. I just created generic housekeeping codes. A lot of properties like to actually configure their housekeeping as employees with their names, and that's perfectly fine. But just for my property, I just had them as generic. So in this example, I know that I only have 3 housekeepers working today, and now I can just hit this auto assign button. And this will split up my rooms evenly, or my tasks, I should say, evenly to each housekeeper. Now, if it could not divide this evenly, if there were a couple rooms left, they would just stay here over in the unassigned section, and now it could just click and drag those rooms to the individual housekeepers. The one thing you have to remember with using this auto assign feature is once it's assigned, it's already saved the worksheets. There's no way for you to kind of start over at this time. So if I did something by mistake here and I wanted to start from the beginning, unfortunately, it is a click and drag process to unassign these rooms, and then you could unassign every single housekeeper and then do your auto assignments again if you made them needed back. So that is the way that we can now assign rooms through auto assignment. Again, this is just splitting up the tasks evenly amongst each housekeeper that you've identified here and splitting those evenly. The next one is our new process that we rolled out about a month ago, and I'm actually going to switch over to another property where I have this set up. This is our housekeeping sections, and I'm going to just show you how the process works first, and then we're going to go into how to actually configure the sections, because in able to use that functionality, there is some configuration that will need to take place in your property. So I'm going to go into Sean Test Hotel, where I currently have this set up. And if I come into my housekeeping here and I have my task management, again, this is going to give me a summary of all my tasks that are due today and how much it's actually going to take to complete my tasks. I go into manage worksheets, and oh, I'm sorry, I have some assignments already here. I'm going to actually run an audit in this real quick, so this will reset my boards. Give me just a second here. It won't take long for the end of day process to run. All right, so now we can move into our housekeeping. We should have a new fresh board that we can actually work with. Task management, manage worksheets. All right, so now you'll see that I have my room numbers listed here. You'll notice that I do have room numbers duplicating, but that's because there's multiple tasks due for that room. So for example, 202 is a stayover clean, meaning that they're going to be in-house, but they also have a linen change that is due today. So that's why you see the room number twice. It's not really duplicating the room numbers. It's saying that there are two different tasks that need to happen for that particular room number. So for today, if I know that I'm only have my housekeeper 1, housekeeper 2, and let's say housekeeper 4 that are working today, I can uncheck this, and I have that same auto assign button, but rather than actually dividing my tasks evenly amongst my employees, it's going to assign the rooms that are assigned sections to the housekeepers. And when we get into the configuration of how to set up our settings, I'm going to assign the sections to the housekeepers, so that way they get their sections assigned to them first. Now, anything that is not available to assign, meaning that you don't have an employee working today that has a section for, say, 501, it will stay in the unassigned section on the left side. From here now, you can actually click, drag. You know you want to give another rooms to housekeeper 4. You can split up these rooms however you want. Again, that's just a click and drag process, similar to how we did manual assignments. Up here at the left, this gives me a recap. The housekeeper is working today, so they are working 8 hours, and this gives me the time that it will take to complete the current tasks that are assigned to them. So I can kind of keep track of how long it's going to take for each housekeeper to do the tasks that they have assigned to them at that time. Once I have everything assigned here, I'm not going to go through the whole process because that might take up some time from this webinar. I can then save my report, and then I have my print button right here, and this will actually print out by room number, or I can sort this by task, meaning that's going to put all my linen changes together and all my stayovers together. If I want to sort this by room, I could leave it as this, and print my worksheet. And now I see my housekeeper with the rooms that are assigned to each one. So housekeeping sections is a new exciting thing for us. And as I said before you can actually begin using this functionality, you do have some configuration that you'll need to do. We're going to actually configure my training hotel that we were just on, so I can walk you guys through that process. So in our settings, we're going to go into settings again. This is where our configuration lives. I'm going to my rooms area, and then I have my housekeeping option right here. When I go in housekeeping, I have my auto assign options, and this is where I say, do I want to auto assign by employees, meaning dividing evenly, or do I want to assign by section and time? If I want to do by sections, I just check this little box here. And then the other thing that you want to make sure that you're checking is you're going into your rooms and you're going into your task management. You need to make sure that your tasks that you have configured for your property have times set here. So you need to put how long it takes to actually clean a room without a linen change for every room type. And then you also need to make sure if you are a property that does different linen change schedules, meaning that you're changing sheets every 3 days, under linen change, you can take how long it takes to complete that particular task. So to do a linen change for a king bed, I have it set for 5 minutes. For 2 queen size beds, I have it set for 10 minutes, etc. Once you check the times on your task, you need to make sure that your employee working shifts are set up properly for your hotel. If I'm a housekeeper working a full shift, I'm working 8 hours. If I'm working a half shift, I'm working for 4 hours. This can change based on property if you want. Once you have your time set up on your task and you have your employee working shifts confirmed, we can actually begin configuring our housekeeping sections. So my hotel has 75 rooms, and I'm going to do 15 rooms per section. So that's going to be 5 sections that I'm going to actually configure. So if I hit add new here, and I can call this 1. Changes. I'm just going to go ahead and add all of them here. All right. A lot of hotels will sometimes, when they're filling out these sections on the description, they might put room numbers these sections are for. So they may say like section 1 is room 101 through 115. Section 2 is 116 to 130. They could put that actual in the description. Completely up to you on how you want to label these. Once I have my sections configured, I now can go in and assign sections to room numbers. And we actually thought of a really quick way to do that. If you just go to the Manage Rooms area over here, you'll notice you have your housekeeping sections on the left here. I can simply just check the rooms that are applicable to that section. If I know that it's going to be everything on this page, I can just hit this little checkbox at the top. That's going to highlight all my rooms. I can assign selected, and now I've assigned keeping section 1. I have 5 more rooms to assign, so I can just check those individually, and then I can assign selected. So this is a quick way of being able to do that, and I'm going to go ahead and do these all real quick. So I'm going to assign the selected and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll move on to section 3. Move on to section 4. And then we're going to move into our final section for section 5. And 5 rooms left. And it's easy. I've assigned all my rooms now to sections. Now you can do this kind of manually by going to every single room and assigning a section. Obviously that will take a little bit longer, but if I went into 106, I could change my section here for each specific room number. So once we've created our sections, the last step that you're going to do is assign your sections to your housekeepers. So if I go to my hotel staff, I go to my user setup here, and I'm going to go into housekeeper 1. I have to assign them a working shift. If this is a full-time employee, I give them that full shift, which is the 8 hours. And here is where I can assign the section. So I know my housekeeper 1 is going to get section 1. As a reminder, when you're creating users in housekeeping, you need to make sure you give them this floor and maintenance staff assigned role. That is what will populate their names as available employees for you to assign rooms to in housekeeping. If the employee is never really expected to log into Rover, because most housekeepers probably won't log into your system, you don't really need their actual email address here. You can put some kind of dummy email address as long as they're not expected to log into our system. If they are expected to log in, you want to make sure address here. So once I've assigned them a housekeeping section, I've assigned them a working shift, I can save my changes, and then I can go on to housekeeper 2. We'll do a full shift. Oops, excuse me. And housekeeper 3. And then we have our final housekeeper 5, and then the full shift. All right, now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and run an audit in my live hotel, so that way we can reset our boards to run for the next day, and now we can roll this out with our new function of being able to assign rooms by sections. We're on end of day here. All right, so now we're on our new date. I can go to my housekeeping. I have a fresh board that I can begin working on. Test management here. And you'll notice now that we have our stayover cleans, but I also have some linen changes due. A lot of times hotels, when they see this, they get a little confused because they're saying, oh, I only have 36 rooms occupied. How come it says I have 56 rooms to clean? The thing to remember, this isn't so much rooms, this is so much your tasks. So you have 36 rooms, but out of these 36 rooms, 20 of them have linen changes that are due. And those times are set up here. It's going to take me 12 hours to stay over cleans, and it's going to take me 2 hours and 30 minutes to do 20 linen changes for my rooms. So from here, I can go into manage worksheets. Let's say I know that it's going to be housekeeper 1, housekeeper 2, and housekeeper 3. 4 and 5 are gone today. I use my auto assign. And now it is assigning by sections. From here, I can actually assign additional rooms to housekeepers or additional tasks to housekeepers manually that we're not able to auto assign. And that's it. That's how it's a pretty simple process. It's pretty simple to get it configured in your hotel to work that way. Just as a refresher, because in case there's anybody on the call that really hasn't done any of our housekeeping classes, I do want to talk about our room status screen up here a little bit, just to show you some tips on how to update rooms. Obviously, the one way to update them is clicking on a room, and you can actually come here into the work area and turn this to dirty or what status that you need to. But we do have ways that you can do multiple rooms at a time. You do have these check boxes over here on the right. And as soon as I start checking these boxes, you'll notice that there's a little purple pencil that pops up. From here, I can actually update all these rooms at once to say that they are dirty. And just, you know, as a suggestion, even if I'm just updating one room, I find it easier just to click this box and do this purple pencil and update that one room at a time rather than going through clicking it and changing it to dirty a manual way. It's a couple of clicks shorter. So even if I'm not updating multiple rooms, just one room at a time, I'll still use this little box over here. One thing to keep in mind when you're looking at room status, if you want to look at a particular report, say I want to look at just my vacant dirty rooms, I can come here and choose my statuses to look at vacant and dirty. And then the report I run over here is actually going to be the report with the applied filters. So once I hit the printer button right here, this is only going to show me my vacant dirty rooms because that's currently what I'm looking at. I do have options over here to view by tasks. So if I look at tasks, I can come here to my filter and uncheck everything because I just want to show everything. And by task, this is going to show me the rooms with their tasks that are due today. So I see 106 has light service, 109 is light service, 111 has a linen change in light service, and I can see which housekeepers those are assigned to as well. So that is the end of the class. I don't have anything else to cover as far as our new features go. I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody. As Christine mentioned earlier, if you don't have any questions, but you do want to stay on to listen to for any other questions that might come up, please mute yourself. So that way we don't hear any kind of background noise in your environment. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock everything right now.
So when you assign the rooms automatically for the sections, some of the rooms didn't get assigned. So can you just go back to that screen? What are some of the reasons why some of the rooms wouldn't assign themselves?
The reason why, let me go back into it. That's because these rooms are assigned to housekeepers that were not working. So I unchecked 4 or 5, I assigned rooms. That's because these rooms belong in sections that are assigned to housekeeper 4 and housekeeping 5. So it doesn't actually have a housekeeper to assign those. Nobody's working with that section. and that's why it stays
Okay.
unassigned.
Or maybe it was missed in configuration, like it wasn't set up.
Yes, it would. If it's not assigned to a particular
Yeah.
section, yeah, it would.
Yes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, Christine, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thanks, James. All right, everyone. Well, that does conclude today's webinar. As I mentioned, we're going to be sending out this recording here shortly, and I have some helpful articles I'm going to include along with this recording in case you are more of a prefer reading over watching a video. And definitely feel free to pass this information on to anyone on your team who wasn't available to make it into the call today. We're so excited that you all were able to join. Thank you again, and have a lovely rest of your day.